Your angle relationships test review. So for the first few questions, we're going to use the directions that state lines X and Y are parallel lines cut by a transversal. A, identify the type of angle relationship, whether it's corresponding, vertical, alternate interior, or alternate exterior, shown in the following pairs of angles. So we're going to look at angles 1 and 8. So you need to think about where 1 and 8 are located. So we are here and right here. They're both on the outside of the parallel lines, which is the exterior, and they are on alternating sides of the transversal. So these are alternate exterior. Alternate exterior, that does mean those are congruent. Then we're going to look at, for number 2, angles 6 and 7. So we have 6 here and 7. Notice they are directly across from each other. They share a vertex. Therefore, they are vertical angles. They are also congruent. Then we want to look at angles 8 and 4. Notice both of these are on the right-hand side of the transversal. They're both on the bottom sides of the parallel lines. So they're in the same position, just on a different line. So those are called corresponding. Looking at angle 3 and 6. They're both on the inside of the parallel lines. They're on alternate sides of the transversal. One's on one side, one's on the other. So these are called alternate interior. Alternate interior are also congruent. And then finally, we have angles 5 and 1, angle 1 and 5. They're both on the top side of their parallel line. They're both on the left-hand side of the transversal. So they're in the same position, but on a different line of the parallel lines. So these are also corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are also congruent, which they're equal. We're going to use the diagram at the top of the page to help answer questions 6, 7, and 8. It says, using the picture above, identify whether the following pairs of angles are congruent or supplementary. Remember, congruent means that they are going to be equal to one another, and supplementary means that the angles will add up and equal 180. So they add to 180 degrees. Also means they're going to be a straight line. So number 6, you're focused on angle 1 and angle 5. Notice they are both acute angles. So if they're both acute, they cannot be supplementary. In order to be supplementary, one would need to be obtuse, one would need to be acute. These are corresponding since they're in the same position, just on a different set of parallel lines. And so these are congruent. And you could even use the congruency symbol if you'd like. Number 7, you are focused on angle 4 and angle 5. They are on opposite sides of the transversal. They're both on the interior or the inside of the parallel lines. Notice they too are both acute angles, so that makes them congruent because they are alternate interior angles. And then finally, we are focusing on angles 3 and 5. So 3 is here, and this one is 5. Notice angle 3 is obtuse. It's a wide angle. And angle 5 is acute, a small angle. And together they form this straight line. And so that means they do add up and equal 180 degrees. So these are supplementary. Number 9. Line P is parallel to line Q. Find the measure of angle 7 if the measure of angle 2 is 75 degrees. So we're focusing on finding out what the measurement of 7 is, and we know that 2 is 75 degrees. Notice that 2 and 7 are on opposite sides of the transversal, and they're on the outside, which means they're alternate exterior. And if they're alternate exterior, that means they're congruent. So that means the measure of angle 7 has to be also 75 degrees. Line R is parallel to line S. Find the measure of angle 8 if the measure of angle 6 is 56 degrees. So 6 right here is 56 degrees, and we are looking for angle 8. Notice that angle 6 and 8 right here form that straight line. We also notice that angle 8 is obtuse and angle 6 is acute. And so we know those two angles together are supplementary. So that means they add up to equal 180 degrees. So in order to figure out angle 8's measurement, you would take 180 and subtract 56 from it, and that would give me 124 degrees, not 25. So the measure of angle 8 is 124 degrees. Number 11, line T is parallel to line V. Find the measure of angle 3 if the measure of angle 5 is 119 degrees. Angle 5 is obtuse. Angle 3 is acute. So when you have an obtuse and acute, that is forming a straight line or a supplementary angle. This is your straight line right through here. They are supplementary, so we know supplementary angles add up and equal 180 degrees. So we would take our 180 and subtract the 119 for angle 5, and that would give me 61. So that lets me know that the measure of angle 3 is 61 degrees. Number 12, this particular problem has 13 possible answers to it. In the figure below, lines M and N are parallel. The measure of angle 2 is 62 degrees, and the measure of angle 14 is 73 degrees. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and label those measurements. So angle 2 is here, is 62 degrees, and 14 is 73 degrees. So you want to take the information you already know about vertical angles and corresponding angles and all those, and go ahead and start finding some measurements that you're missing. And a lot of times when I do these, I fill in my answers after I have filled in my diagram. So I know that angle 2 right here is vertical to 13, so I know that angle 13 is also going to be 62 degrees. I also know that angle 14 is vertical to angle 3, so that's going to make angle 3 be 73 degrees. I'm going to come back and look at angle 2. When you look at your transversal coming through here, angle 2 and 5 are on alternate sides of that transversal, and they're on the inside of the parallel line, so they're alternate interior, making angle 5 also be 62 degrees. And that would make angle 7 be 62 degrees because 5 and 7 are vertical, or you could also say 2 and 7 are corresponding. Either way, you get the same measurement. So let's look at what we have right here in the middle now. You have a triangle in the middle, and we've done some triangles in bell work, but we know if you add your totals together, so we're going to take our 73 plus our 62. That's going to give me 135, and then I need to take that 135 and subtract it from 180 because triangles have to add up, the interior angles have to equal 180. And so when I subtract that, I end up with 45. So that lets me know that angle 4 is 45 degrees. So based off that information, I can figure out angle 10 because 4 and 10 are vertical. So that's going to make angle 10 be 45 degrees. I also know that 12 and 4 are congruent because they're alternate exterior, so that lets me know that 12 is also 45 degrees. And since 12 is 45 degrees, it is vertical to angle 1. So 12 and 1 would both be the same measurement of 45 degrees. And let's see, this angle right here for 6, if you look at 6 and 7 right here, they make a straight line. They are supplementary. So you would subtract from 180, take 180, subtract the 62, and that's going to give me 118. So that lets me know angle 6 is 118 degrees. If angle 6 is 118, it's vertical to angle 8, so that means angle 8 is also 118 degrees. So that leaves us to have to come to angles 11 and 9. 11 and 4 right here are going to be supplementary. They make that straight line. So I'm going to take the 45 and subtract it from 180 so that I can find the measurement of angle 11. That's going to give me 135. So angle 11 is 135. And since 11 and 9 are vertical, that would also make 9 be 135. When I look at 14, 1, and 2, those three angles together make a straight line. They should add up to equal 180. If they don't, we've messed up somewhere. Your straight lines all the way through your problem need to equal 180. So once we have found all of our measurements, then you just have to fill in your answers. That one's 45 for number 1. Number 3, or angle 3, is 73. Angle 4 was 45 degrees. Angle 5 was 62 degrees. 6 was 118 degrees. 7 was also 62 degrees. 8 was 118 degrees. 9 was 135 degrees. 10 was 45 degrees. 11 was 135. 12 was 45. And finally, the measure of angle 13 was 62 degrees. This problem looks really complicated when you first start. Just realize, plug in what you know and take it a piece at a time. Don't worry about answering your problems in the order that you see them. Just find your vertical, your corresponding, your alternate interior and exterior angles that match up and work your problem that way. Number 13, our directions are that we need to find the value of x. We know that this is a 90-degree angle, so the two angles inside should add up and equal 90 degrees. So we set up an equation to solve for the x. So we're taking the first angle of 3x plus 8, and we're going to add that to the other angle, which is 2x plus 7, and the two angles together should equal 90 degrees. So combine your like terms. 3x plus 2x would give me 5x, and then positive 8 and a positive 7 would give me a positive 15. You're now to a two-step equation that you can solve. We want to isolate the variable by subtracting 15 on both sides of the equal sign. 5x equals 75, and then to get x by itself, divide both sides by 5, and x would be 15. Make sure you read your directions because sometimes it may ask for the variable of x, sometimes it may ask for the actual angle measurement. If it does, then you have to substitute the x value back into the problem. So just watch your directions. So we have 4x plus 8 as an angle measurement and 120 degrees. We need to realize that these are sharing a vertex, so they are vertical angles. We know that vertical angles are congruent. That means they're equal. So when I set this problem up, I'm going to set it up and put the two angles equal to one another. So 4x plus 8 equals 120. Solve your two-step equation by subtracting 8 on both sides of the equal sign. It's going to leave me with 4x on the left, equal sign. 120 minus 8 would be 112. Divide both sides by 4. to get the x by itself. And x would be 28. And that's all I have to do on that problem because our directions were to find the value of x. Number 15, notice that your two angles here are on a straight line. They form that straight line or a straight angle. These are called supplementary. And we know that supplementary angles equal 180 degrees. So in order to find the value of x, I'm going to set my two angles, add them together, and set them equal to 180. So I'm going to combine my like terms. X plus x would be 2x plus 10 equals 180. You can solve your two-step equation by starting with subtraction of the 10. 2x equals 170. And then finally divide both sides by 2. And x would equal 85. So the value of your x would be 85. Number 16. Notice that our angles are both on the inside of the parallel lines, and they're right across from each other. This is an acute angle. This one is obtuse. So we know that those two angles together, if you have an acute angle and an obtuse angle, they are supplementary. So we know those two angles have to add up and equal 180 degrees. So we're going to take our first angle of 5x minus 5. We're going to add it to the second angle of 6x plus 20. And those two together should equal 180 degrees. Combine your like terms. 5x plus 6x would be 11x. Combine your constants here of negative 5 plus 20, which would be a positive 15. Bring down your equal sign and your 180. To solve our two-step equation, we start by subtracting 15 on both sides of the equal sign, leaving me with 11x equals 165. And then we want to divide both sides by 11. So x is going to equal 15. Number 17, the two angles we are looking at are sharing a line here, and that is a straight line, so that's a straight angle, which means they are supplementary angles to make a straight line. And we know that supplementary equals 180 degrees. So we're going to add the two angles we're given, 7x plus 11x, and set them equal to 180. Combine your like terms, so that would give me 18x equals 180. Solve your one-step equation by dividing both sides by 18. And x would equal 10. Number 18. The angle we're given is a 90-degree angle, so we're going to take their two measurements we have on the inside and we're going to add those together. So 6x plus 2x plus 10, and those angles should equal 90 degrees. We want to combine our like terms. So 6x plus 2x would be 8x plus 10 equals 90. Subtract 10 on both sides of the equal sign to solve that two-step equation, leaving me with 8x equals 80. And then finally dividing by 8 on both sides to find out that x equals 10. So number 19, the two angles that we are looking at are on the outside of the parallel lines, and they're on opposite sides of the transversal, which means they are alternate exterior. And we know that alternate exterior angles are congruent, which means they're equal. So I'm going to take the two angles and set them equal to one another. And then we solve for the x. So I'm going to start out by subtracting 2x on both sides of the equal sign, leaving me with 14 equals 2x plus 6. And then I want to subtract 6 on both sides of the equal sign. And that's going to leave me with 8 equals 2x. And then my last step would be to divide both sides by 2. So x does equal 4.